Performance of the NSE 20, I mean, over the last few sessions, it's been trading in the red. It's below 4,000. We've given so many explanations in the past. We've said it's political risk sentiment, it's slowed growth, it's the drought. What's going on now?
Well, you must first understand there's a seesaw effect taking place. There's a lot of external factors that are influencing trading in the stock exchange. And if you notice, for one, there's very high inflation. Like you mentioned earlier, we're actually at double digits now, about 12.95. Then you have the other aspect of there's a sort of apathy with regards to investment, because when you notice there's a high cost of electricity, all brought about by higher inflation. So this has gone to lead to whereby investing in the stock market now has become more of a secondary activity as opposed to a primary activity.
All right, now the shilling, it hit the 90 shilling mark yesterday, a bit better today, but somewhere in the region of 89 shillings 60. Are you really concerned about the weakening currency?
Yes, to an extent, there's a bit of concern, because that will put a lot of pressure internally and will result in most of the banks raising their interest rates. This will also have a knock-on effect in that there'll be a bit of a problem for most of these industries within some of which call the small medium enterprises accessing money for borrowing purposes, because the rates will be slightly higher. So it's actually a tightrope that the CBK will be walking in the next couple of months, because going by it, there's tuned to the effect that the shilling might actually go even lower to as low as 92 shillings. This 92 shillings rather, this is something that has actually been unheard of since the 90s, when foreign exchange controls were now totally done away with.
Yeah, absolutely, and it will have a bearing, I think, on government securities. But those who will gain are the exporters. I mean, if you look at the equities market today, Williamson's tea has gained something like 5% on its share price. Is it as a result of a weakening shilling and hence more that they can sell internationally?
Well, you could look at that too, because if you notice, not just Williamson tea, but also Sasini has been actively trading, and their share price has risen. And this has also much to do with that element of a weakening currency, as it is that there was a bit of rain that has gone on. They've had a bumper harvest. You just mentioned earlier the Tea Board of Kenya just actually showed they have actually gotten a bumper harvest, and prices being suitable for them. So we would say that within this period, it has actually worked more in their favor.
KQ is also up 3.2%. Now, they've been very busy introducing new routes, expanding on their fleet. What else are they doing right?
You notice there's that partnership, advertising partnership with UBA. But what I like is that they've actually looked at the way forward. Despite forecasts of high fuel prices, the hedging for them is actually now working in their favor, because initially it had worked against them when the fuel prices went lower. But now with the fuel prices being higher, it's actually working in their favor. And hence also the whole idea of creating JKIA as a hub. You have more local destinations, or should I use the term local for Africa-wide, routes within Africa, that is actually benefiting Kenya.
Right. Access Kenya today announced a merger of two of its subsidiaries valued at about 170 million Kenyan shillings. Is this good? Is this going to make the company more dynamic?
It's good for one reason only: operation costs will be reduced. But you have to understand why that has come about. With the new Communication of Kenya licensing that has allowed now for companies to operate under one license for all the various activities, whether you're looking at internet services, you're looking at data for that matter, whether you're looking at telecommunications, which is a voice, you're able to operate under one license, as previously when you had to get separate licenses. They looked at it and realized they would rather operate as Access Kenya and hence merge the two units to operate under one company. So yes, in terms of operation costs, there's a very big boon for them. But on the other hand, you also notice that you take up liabilities. If you notice, the liabilities of the two came to about 15.1 billion, if I'm not wrong. But that also increases the liability. But one other thing they've done is to negotiate their shilling, whatever shilling rate in terms of debt, to reduce for actually to transfer it into shillings, to reduce what was the foreign exchange loss that they occurred the last time.
All right, Waiyaki, very briefly, for anybody coming into the Kenyan market right now, I know foreigners like the blue chip stocks, the traditionally well-performing companies, but for anybody else who wants to enter the market, when equities aren't doing so well, when inflation is putting pressure on the bond markets, how should they approach this particular market?
Well, I would look at it as a point of view of that every stock exchange or every market has its cycle. Right now, the world is grappling with a lot of things. High fuel prices, inflation, debt. You have Greece with this, grappling with the debt issue that is affecting the euro. It's an opportune time to look at your portfolio and look at which are the key areas, because there are certain sectors that will still thrive despite inflation or not, because consumers will still partake of their products. Electricity consumption will still be there. So you have the likes of Kenyan and KPLC that will still be there. You have the likes of Uchumi that has finally begun correcting itself, and you notice that the trading has actually become very vibrant and the price has moved up to about 13 shillings. So I would look at it from the point of view of that this is an opportune time to correct your portfolio, shave off some of the blue chips that you've held in excess and buy in slightly lesser companies, though in moderation as opposed to buying in bulk, because the only reason why we have blue chip is that blue chips will always be able to ride the wave of whether the market is unstable or not. They always have a point where they correct themselves.
Okay.